We are now in direct live, so we will start this first episode of 7 about this web series about training and media dedicated to training. The first episode is called Training Engineering. You will discover, of course, it will deal with training engineering. This is not going to be a great exposition of all the science, neuroscience that are existing, but really focused about the experience and the training life of our offer in LGM to focus on the points that have been successful and the difficulties that we have faced and that we are facing now in order to provide an overview of this training offer in tennis. So here we are. So I am Nicolas Beaube. I have two main roles in terms of training at LGM. I have done LGM since 2005, and I have a responsibility as our LGM Academy manager, which offers more than 70 modules of training about our job of expertise. And I am also in our innovative and technical department as a digital technical manager for training.
Good afternoon. I'm Gilles Baudoux. I'm a training technical manager inside our Directorate of Technical Innovation. I'm in LGM since 7 years, and I worked previously as a project manager in the training field.
So here is the summary of this webinar. So we will start as providing you the view that we have of training as a logistic product. So what does it mean? Then we will go through the experience of Gilles at the discovery of a whole training system. Then we will conclude on this part with the structure of a training solution called end-to-end. Then we will go through the difficulties, mainly one of them, which is a deployment issue. And then we will conclude with the following parts, all the episodes of webinar that will go through the next and coming weeks. Without any transition, so Gilles, who we are?
Yes, so who we are, who is LGM company? LGM is specialized in the integrated logistics support and in training in maintenance engineering. What we do, thanks to our know-how, our methodologies, our knowledge, we improve the availability, the total cost of ownership, and the user experience of the complex system. We are mainly based in France, so we are a French group based in Paris and with subsidiaries in all France region to be close to our customers. We have also subsidiaries in foreign countries, in Belgium, for example, in UK, in Germany, and also on other continents, India, in Australia, in US, and in Canada. We are 1,500 employees, and we have a turnover of around 135 million euro per year. Our main sectors of activities are aeronautics, railway, defense, aerospace, automotive, and nuclear. We exist since 30 years, and we are still led by our three founders director.
As you may have noticed, so in this LGM presentation, support engineering is the very core DNA of LGM. And of course, the very birth of our training offer has been made through integrated logistics support engineering. To provide you the overview, support engineering is based on 9 product of logistic supports which are provided there. And as you can see, operation and maintenance training is one of them. So this is the reason why this has been implemented as an offer in LGM at the beginning. So it means two separate and important things, meaning when doing training as products of logistic support, it means first to have a very strong target and objective regarding the entire availability of the complex system, mainly with two factors. The first one is to reduce maintenance downtime, either preventive or corrective, and reducing the operating errors that may happen when an operator is using the system and when he is, let's say, not trained enough. He can make some mistakes that will create unavailability of the principal system. Then we have the total cost of ownership objective, which is going to be optimized with two separate vectors. The first one is, of course, the cost of training itself. And on the other end, which is more important, the impacts of the training to reduce the overall cost of ownership.
So let's now talk about different challenges, the different stakes that we will be faced to during a training program. I will take a specific and personal case. I was during 4 years a training manager, a project manager of the training part for the AXE program. AXE is a system of command and control, of air command and control for the military. This system is bought by NATO and is deployed on 16 different sites, so on 16 different nations. It's a very, very big program. It's a program on which LGM is involved since 15 years. And so, as I said, it involves NATO, it involves 16 nations, so many stakeholders, many different requirements, various requirements regarding the training for this program. As you can imagine, we will not train. The requirements expressed by NATO won't be the same as the one expressed by Turkey or by Portugal. Also, this system is entitled to be used by different roles, like air controller, like air surveillance operator, people in charge of air mission planning. That's for the operation side. For the maintenance side, technical side, we have managers of the communication system, we have a system administrator, we have maintainers. All those roles have to be taken into account while designing the training, which represents a very big challenge. This system is still in evolution. In deployment and still in development in the factory. So the training needs also to take into account all this evolution. Our main source data is the technical documentation, and we have to integrate in our training material all evolution of this technical documentation. Regarding the learners, as you can imagine also, and I lived that case, is that even if the two countries are close, Netherlands and Belgium, the training, the way they expect the training, what are the requirements regarding the training, what are the different options they want to be covered in the training is very, very different. So we had also to adapt program to the different sites. This system, as it is still in integration for some sites or in deployment, and we had to conduct the training at the same time. It requires also a very specific organization of the training. Sometimes we had to conduct a training session very early in the morning, sometimes very late in the afternoon, to adapt around all these all the schedule of the different activities, and so to adapt according to the availability of the system. As I said, it's a military system, and so this system is dedicated to operate also in crisis time and in wartime, with specific functions dedicated to those situations. And so, as you know, we are not for the moment in a crisis or in a wartime. So we don't have a web of 20 or 50 aircrafts attacking one country or another. And so those situations, they need a simulation tool to be trained. So we had to prepare a specific scenario for the different sites to allow a training on the different functionalities. Also, all countries, they have their own specific means, like radar, like data links, like communication means, secure means, and all those specifics of the nations, they needed to be taken into account and to prepare a customized training for each sites.
Thank you, Gilles, for sharing this experience. And it, of course, creates the introduction for our end-to-end training solution.
Yes. So how did we answer to all those challenges? In LGM, we use a methodology which is called a Systems Approach to Training, SAT. And this methodology is based on 5 phases. Five phases summarized by the acronym ADDIE, ADDIE, for analysis, analysis, design, development, implementation, and evaluation. In the first phase, analysis, for example, as I said in the AXE program, we were looking to two different items, two different main items. The first item is the needs of an organization, the needs of a military entity, for example. What are the roles which are to be trained? What are the roles concerned by training? So we define that and we analyze the activities of this role based on a task, subtask analysis. This allows a definition of the training requirements based on the role, on the job activities, more than on the equipment. So it ensures that the learning objectives later on will be defined according an operational context, a day-to-day context of an operator, more or a maintainer, more than focused on the equipment. As you can imagine, it results in an improved training with exhaustive objectives and justified approach. The second items we are looking during the analysis phase is the learners population. We characterize the learners population according their background, according their knowledge, according their motivation, and so on. We often use the KSA model, the knowledge, skills, attitude model, to define a learner's population. For example, in the AXE program, we had to take sometimes the cultural aspects, as a French military will not be trained or is not used to the same way of training as a Turkish military. Also, inside the same unit, you have young military, 20 years, just out of the school. They have other expectations regarding the training than military, which is on this post since 20 or 25 years, having known another system previously, and so on. The next phase is the design phase. During the design phase, we will define the learning objectives according to the data collected in the analysis phase. we base the definition of the learning objectives on the gap analysis. The gap analysis, it means we have the learners at a certain level and they need to reach that level required by the organization, the roles as it was defined according the activities performed in the analysis phase. And once the learning objectives are defined, we will structure them in a training path. We will group them in courses, in lessons, and that will result in a training path dedicated to the roles. Once we have defined the training path, we will select the different media, for example, for classroom instructor-led courses or for remote training, e-learning, and so on. We will select the media the most appropriate according to the characteristics of the learners and according to the different parameters that will influence this media selection. And so that's something that will be explained more in details in our second episode of our web series. How can we make a good selection of the media? What are the parameters influencing this media selection? At the end of the training design phase, we build a training plan. We have a training plan that synthesizes all the activities we have performed in analysis and design. And this training plan, it is the requirements, it is our contract for the next phases.
And this training plan is, of course, very, very useful to start the next phase, the third phase, which is called the development phase, in which the pedagogical means determined and specified in the design phase will be developed. So I guess you might know that there's plenty of pedagogical means, starting from PowerPoint, e-learning, video, tutorial, 3D kinematics, serious game, and today virtual reality, augmented reality, or even virtual tours that might be used. And all this spectra of pedagogical means requires to have a precise view of the advantage and, well, to pros and the cons, and to be justified, of course, before starting the production. Once it's been done, we are in the development phase, and the purpose is to create first a synopsis, meaning really an overview of what will be the pedagogical mean and what key messages it has to address. Then we'll go through the storyboard. The storyboard is a detailed synopsis in which all the information, all the contents that will be directly in the media will be precisely described. And then there is a development using very specific skills in the markets to develop, for example, videos or virtual reality or e-learning, which requires plenty of different people. The key notion in the development is, of course, as said Gilles, to have a precise link with the data source, as this system might be very, very critical with very several strong issues when there is a problem. So this is the reason why TechPub is really like a regulatory entry and has to be taken into account. In the second episode of this web series, Gilles will also tell us the way we have created some alerts, meaning when the TechPub is evolving, trainers that are responsible for a package of media or training content will receive an alert to create their impact analysis and making the evolution of the training material.
The fourth phase is the implementation phase. It's during that phase that we will use the training materials and the training paths that we have established during the design phase, that we will use that to transfer the knowledge to the learners. So that's at that moment that we will broadcast, for example, a training material through a learning management system, an LMS, or that we will lead that will conduct courses in a classroom for training delivery. In the AXE program, and it's also an option that is frequently used, is in a big program like AXE, we chose to deliver a train-the-trainer course. So due to the fact that there were a lot of military to train on the different sites, we decided to train instructors, an instructor pool on each site, which who will be responsible to train the crew. The last phase is the evaluation phase. During the evaluation, as you can imagine, we will test the knowledge of the learner as if to assess if they acquired the knowledge, the skills we have delivered during the training. That's the first step. The second step is to assess the satisfaction of the learner. That's the kind of TripAdvisor of the training. So was the training satisfactory from a learner point of view? Was the instructor expert in the field? Was he able to give a good course? Was the training infrastructure of good quality? Or was the simulation, and so on? And the last point is to evaluate the return on investment, the ROI of the training. So making an assessment of the result of the training from a structural point of view on the organization. What was the impact of the training on the organization? Do we increase the productivity? Do we increase the quality of the delivery? Is our personnel more able to perform its missions? So we can determine a key performance indicator to evaluate this ROI.
And this was the pillars, and this is still today the 5 pillars of our training solution, which provides an end-to-end service. Of course, the fact that is our offer is just one point. The key message here is that having these 5 phases addresses specific issues that's put all together enables to face really complex training situation and implement a training system. As Gilles said, we will come back on these 2 phases on the episode 2 and 3 of our series. The development, we will come back with a specific solution and media on episode 4, 5, and 6. And we will talk about the implementation and evaluation at the episode 7, the last episode of the series. So as you might have seen now, we are convinced to have a good training service solution offer, and we have another impact on the markets that we are looking at and observing, which is the changing balance between the expert availability versus the training needs. So we have selected the 3 main factors that are impacting the industry. The first one is the retirement wave that is occurring for the last 5 years, and that will continue over the coming years. Of course, this retirement wave has a direct impact on the number of experts and then, of course, of the availability of these experts.
The next point influencing this balance is the increased turnover in our organizations today, or in the different companies. Statistically, we have more employees leaving the company after a certain period, and so it means that we lack experience in the same company. So that results in less in a reduced expert availability, and also as newcomers are joining the company, that results in increased training needs.
And the last factor is the increasing complexity of systems. Many of them have, of course, observed and been the source of this factor, meaning that today the complex system, for example, now a combination of multiple complex systems, where when 20 years ago it was just one big complex system. This has a strong impact because we have now several roles, meaning several people, different people that are required with a specific training path to manage the good functioning of the complex system. Where 20 years ago there was, for example, one or two people, but with the same role. So it has directly an impact, of course, on the training needs. So we have really now a picture of how the availability of the expert versus the training needs is impacting the needs for better and more efficient training systems. But even with, let's say, a justified offer that Gilles presented us, this market context, we still have very strong deployment issues that we faced like approximately 5 years ago. So let's just have a view of how did the training project work within the V-cycle model. So we just have a look at development, a complex system development project. So training is there. So you have the expressions of the needs there. We have the development of the product over there. And we have at the end all the recipe and retirement replacement at the end. So we are at just before the final recipe, we have the technical documentation and the training. These major contracts with complex systems are often associated with delay penalties. And the training is documentation dependent, meaning that, as we said previously, this is critical system, so technical publication is, well, as all the information required, meaning regulatory, so it's really important to focus on this information to create the training materials. And of course, as all complex projects on 5, 10 or more, even to 50 years, when the development phase is happening, there's often delays because customers have new requirements, market is changing, and of course, it provides some changes and it creates delay. But because you have delay penalties, it's create a barrier there that cannot move. And we have like a compressing impact in which training has to be developed very, very quick. And this is finally the needs that we have been faced by our customers in living this situation frequently. So the first point was how can you help us maturing the thinking in order to raise the added value in our training system without any budget, because when we are in a complex system development, we are already compressed and we have delay penalties, so it's very complex to have budget for this maturing phase without any available time to subcontract, and then finally by adding generated time savings, of course, to reduce the delay penalties. So how can we deploy the offer in this context? And here is the recipe we have used and that we still use today, and that works for us. So first, we have been exploiting the off-peak times, meaning that, of course, for our training customers, they are not always in the peak phases, meaning they have time in some months or some period to mature the thinking, but they just need some support to address this reflection. Then we have made strong presentation and support through the justification methodologies that will be presented more in detail in the episode 2, to provide a vision in which all this pedagogical media, e-learning, kinematics, 3D kinematics, serious game, virtual reality, etc., are not just words, but they are precise tools that are justified by some use case. Once it's been done, we are presenting all this media, all these tools to demystify this complexity, and we are going to formalize use case very specific to our customers. And finally, we will offer an extremely simple and agile contracting mode, often using work units. So you have there examples of realization made using work units. A work unit is just a media unit, an elementary unit. For example, creating a motion design video of 1 minute, creating a procedural 3D animation of 2 minutes with 20 steps, creating a virtual reality module with 30 steps. And it helps us and our customers to have very precisely tailored work units that can be started, triggered, whatever it's required, and of course generate both time savings and added value in the training system. As times was going on, we have decided to industrialize this initiation path through a dedicated space, which is called Training Factory, that you can discover there. And I will just present a video to show you what it's about. Here is this presentation. You have, of course, a website if you want to check some information about the Training Factory that will be available.
So, to summarize our web series, so today we talked about the training engineering from a general perspective, talking about the different challenges and stakes of the training programs, of the training trade, and presenting you some solutions, methodological solutions we have at LGM.
The next episode, the episode 2, will deal about pedagogical engineering. So we'll get more in detail with the tools that might be used and that we have developed to justify, to specify pedagogical means. We will go through the overview of training plans and the methodology associated to create this final deliverable of the training plan.
The title of the third episode is May the Norm Be With You. During that episode, we will we'll talk about the last training engineering standards, which is the S6000T. It's a standard recently published, part of the ASD standards. The ASD standards, they contribute to the support engineering, to the integrated logistical support and support engineering. We will see the different aspects and different advantages of this new S6000T standard.
The episode 4, which is called Customization Ahead, will deal with two very and widely used pedagogical means. E-learning on one side, so we'll see the good recipe to create blended digital learning using all the medias, the pros and cons of each medias, and example associated to create, for example, e-simulation, interactive video, really good onboarding modules, for example. And we will also use and apply all these best practices to PowerPoints to see how we can, let's say, enhance the classical use of PowerPoint to better address the need of technical training.
The fifth episode is handle immersion. We will see in that episode what are the advantages of virtual reality and virtual visit, mainly. So those immersive means, what are the advantage and where is the justification of using those media? They are not always the good solution or the appropriate solution. They need to be used in the appropriate way, but they have certainly some advantages.
Episode 6, quick and clean. In this episode, the purpose is to make an overview of how can we create tailored but industrialized digital modules, mainly across e-learning. So we'll get through all the process, everything that can be done graphically within the industrialization, the production, and the technique that we have used to create our offer, which is called Make and Go, and which, of course, addresses the production of digital learning modules with minimized cost and, of course, a reduced delay.
The last episode you will never forget will address the implementation and evaluation phase. We'll see the different means that can be used for implementation, and we will talk about the methodology we can use to improve the evaluation phase. Like, for example, as I already mentioned, how can we assess the return on investment of a training?
Yes. So this ends our first episodes, this first introducing episodes of this web series dedicated to training and media. So it was the first exercise for us in English. So we hope you enjoy this presentation. We also hope to see you in the coming episodes, and I let the last word to Gilles.
So thank you very much for your presence today. Thank you for your interest in LGM solution. And so, as Nicolas said, we hope to see you in the next episodes of our web series. Now we have a time dedicated to questions, and we will be pleased to answer all of that.
Thank you very much. Have a good day.